Now, there were a couple big events that changed my life, though, that kind of let me know that trouble was a-brewing. Now, I had been separated from my wife for a while. I rented a house in Elgin, and I rented a house right near the riverboat. If anybody knows where it is, literally within 100 yards of the riverboat, I had a house. And the house was actually kind of an odd thing in that you parked up here, but you entered down around, so you had to come down some stairs to go around the house. So it was actually kind of the back door was the front door of the house. When you're in crack cocaine and you live in a house, your house becomes a crack house. It's just how it is when you're doing 24/7 crack cocaine. And certainly my house became a crack house. I had a lot of men hanging around there, but I had also a lot of the women who worked at the riverboat, the ones who did not deal the cards, okay, if you know what I'm saying. They were very regular visitors to my place, okay, and they liked it. They could get off work, come right over to my place, and we'd be getting high within minutes, and that all seemed to be working just terrific. Great plans, you know. And I had my own little room off to the side that was my little inner circle, and everybody else had free run of the house, and the house was just up for grabs, and I was doing a lot of dealing in the house, and that's how I rolled that house. And over time, it just got like that, where it's just 24 hours chaos. Well, one day, I was looking out the window, and I was not window peeking, I was actually looking out the window. There's a difference, you know, for those of you who know what I'm talking about. And outside from the house came cop, 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 guns out, everything, just one after the other, after the other, after the other. Well, I'm kind of a realist, so I would rather not have the door broken and go to jail. So I figured I might as well let them in. They're coming, you know, they're coming in. And they came in the door with their guns up, they put everybody on the floor, and they walked in the door, and they said, "We don't care what's going on here. We're looking for Mike. He's wanted for capital murder in Texas." And I went, "That's him, officer, right there." and they scooped Mike up, and they left. Well, to let you know how my life was, Mike was part of the inner circle. So as soon as Mike got scooped up and left, where did Dennis's brain go? His dope is in my room. Let me go grab it quick and get it hid, you know, get it put up. That's how I was. It didn't mean a thing to me. So I've thought a lot about Mike over time, and I certainly get to tell his story when I'm here. So I kind of picture Mike meeting that last day down in Texas, which will happen, because we know in Texas it does happen. And I'm just assuming he's going to head south and meet the man with the red pitchfork. And I picture a conversation kind of like this going on, where he goes down there and he meets him, and he goes, "I got a question for you." And Satan will say, "What?" He goes, "Is Dennis here?" Because I just want to meet Dennis one more time. And Satan will say, "No, Dennis actually has a shot at going north if he keeps doing what he's doing." It's, "Oh, that's disappointing." You know, Satan, I was sober a long time on death row. And Satan would say something like, "Well, who do you think sponsors death row guys? I've got that covered." And Satan says, "Except you got one problem. You died by lethal injection, and that's a relapse." Now go sit down. So that's how I picture it going for him, okay? You know, I like to look at that as my first 12-step call. You know, he needed to stop, damn it. You know what I mean? He needed to stop. So, you know, some of us need rehab, some of us need death row. You know, there's different bottoms, as they say in this program. I consider death row a pretty low bottom, all right? So, but you know, I was just trying to help. You know, just doing my good for the neighborhood, getting a capital murder out of the way. So that was certainly a sign. Was that my last day of getting high? No, it was not. But it was certainly a sign of, here I am coming from a situation with a wife and 2 kids and owning my own business to partying with capital, you know, murderers, you know, and thinking that's okay. Well, what ends up happening is I get sober, and I'm sober about 11 days, all by myself in that crack house, hanging out, okay? Sober about 11 days. There was not going to be a 12th day. So when people ask me sometimes, how much sobriety do you have? The answer is I have 11 days. Because I did 11 days on my own, without any help, without anything. But I was absolutely out of my mind, you know, because the crack house situation hadn't stopped. I was just kind of locked in my room, you know, trying to avoid everybody, trying to figure out what to do, and I had no clue what to do. So about 3 in the morning, I called my guy up on the phone, and he said, "Meet me over by Lord's Park." Anybody know where that is? Okay. Nobody, I'd never met him there before, but I knew right where it was, so I had no problem at all with the deal. So I had a little bit of money, and I was on my way to go meet him there. And it just turns out I turned down on Park Street in Elgin off of 25. And I knew, in what they call a moment of clarity in our program, it was one of the clearest things in my life, that if I drove to the end of that next block, I was going to do the coke, and I was going to die from it, and I was going to be a drug addict for the rest of my life. And it just turns out my roommate from college lives on the block before. He's one of my very best friends of all time. Out of nowhere, I whipped my car into his driveway, jumped out of my car with the keys, threw them up on his roof, which happens to be 3 stories, jumped back in my car, locked the doors, and broke down. It was a disaster. You know, I saw my life so crystal clear. I cried for hours. It was about 3 in the morning, and I just cried for hours. I could not believe I hadn't seen my kids in weeks. Hadn't talked to them. I was afraid to answer the phone, you know. I mean, I was so out of it for so long, you know. I was afraid to answer the phone. Nobody knew where I was. The house woke up, and I knocked on the door. Now, Tom knew that I was in trouble. You know, Tom and I partied a ton together, so this wasn't a total shock when I knocked on the door and I said, Tom, I'm in trouble and I need help. And Tom brought me right into the house, and Tom's wife happens to work at a hospital, and she knew somebody who knew somebody. And 90 minutes later, I was in rehab in that building, right next door. I could not believe what was going on. I was upstairs, I don't know what floor they're on, but there I was in there, and I just said I need help. I didn't know what help I needed, I just knew that I couldn't do this on my own. And so they had me upstairs. That's a very strange place over there, okay? You know, first of all, there's addictions of all kinds in there. And the one that really threw me is there's girls who won't eat in there. But all they've got to do is eat a cheeseburger and they can go home. You know? And I'm like, and it just completely baffled me. And they literally lock the bathrooms up for 1 hour after meals, okay? So the girls can't, you know, so the people can't go in there. It was all girls when I was there. There might be some guys with that problem. And they literally have when the girl sits there, they have to have somebody sit right next to them and watch them chew the food and eat the food and swallow the food. And I'm out of my mind going, chew the food and go home. What is the matter with you, you know? You've got to be kidding me. All right, so I don't get that one, you know, they probably don't get mine, all right? You know, why would you be like you are, all right? But the point of the matter is I was there for 3 days. And on the 3rd day, Dennis Sheahen to the office, I don't care who knows my name, and I went to the office and said, what have I done? They said, well, your lifetime allotment of insurance is used up, you've got to go. Because that place is about $250,000 a day, it seems like, okay? I'm like, what am I going to do? I thought I was going to be here for 28 days. Because my plan was to go through the rehab and then call the wife up and say, hey, I've been in rehab for 2, you know, we've all got those genius plans like that, you know. That's where I've been taking care of business, honey, you know. And, you know, I was really ready to tell a tale, you know, and I was already building it in my head as the tale I was going to tell as I left rehab, a success story. And 3 days you had to go. And I said, what am I going to do? And they walked me over to a window and they pointed down at this building and said, well, that's a rehab center, why don't you call it? Okay. And I picked up the phone and I called Sheahen, and they answered on the first ring. Now, anybody have that situation around here? Anybody have to blow up the phone for intake? Well, I didn't. They answered the phone right away. And a lady answered the phone, and her name is Tara. She's just the greatest friend of mine today.